phones are removing logos amid growing backlash against Elon Musk
to distance themselves from the tech billionaire.
When was the last time you saw a car owner specifically remove the logo from their premium vehicle? In 2025, a shocking 30% of Tesla owners are actively removing branding from their vehicles or planning to sell. Not because of quality issues, but because of one factor. I'm Kathryn Porritt, and while I'd typically charge $50,000 to explain this to a CEO privately, today I'm sharing the most critical personal brand warning of 2025 for free: the Elon Musk effect. And to be absolutely clear, having no personal brand is no longer an option for executives. The only question is whether you are building yours with intention or letting it develop into a potential liability. Let me be unequivocal. Any consultant who tells you that CEOs shouldn't have a personal brand in 2025 should be fired immediately. They're dangerously out of touch. The research is indisputable. Visible leadership drives trust, engagement, and financial performance in today's market, period. But there's a profound difference between strategic executive branding and what I call the Musk effect. When an unmanaged personal brand crosses the line from asset to existential threat. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to build an iconic executive brand that creates extraordinary value now while simultaneously building your long-term legacy without falling into the traps that have cost Tesla billions from Musk's once unassailable position. Now, first, let's quantify what happens when CEO's personal brand goes wrong. The numbers are staggering. Tesla reported a 7% year-over-year sales decline in Q1 2025. That is their largest drop since going public. Meanwhile, the overall EV market grew by 12%. In Europe, it's even worse. There was a 36% plunge while competitors gained market share. Tesla stock has experienced unprecedented volatility, directly correlating with Musk's personal controversies rather than business fundamentals. But here's what should really terrify every CEO watching. Brand loyalty is evaporating. That 30% of owners considering abandonment, they're the same customers who once evangelized Tesla with almost cult-like devotion. As one brand expert put it, what we're witnessing is brand homicide in real time. Now let's be clear about what specifically went wrong. This isn't just about Musk having opinions. It's about three critical brand boundaries he's repeatedly crossed. First, he's conflated personal convictions with corporate positioning. When Musk alienated half of his potential customer base with extreme political statements, he wasn't just speaking for himself, he was inadvertently repositioning Tesla. Second, he's prioritized reaction over reflection. The impulse-driven tweets, the unvetted proclamations, the public feuds. These create unpredictability that investors and consumers increasingly view as risk. Third, and perhaps the most damaging, he's undermined his own expertise positioning. The same visionary who was once celebrated for technological innovation is now primarily associated with controversy. The mastery narrative has been diluted by the noise. And what makes this case study so valuable is that Tesla's brand was built almost entirely on Musk's personal brand, with virtually no traditional advertising. So when that personal brand became toxic for a significant portion of their customer base, Tesla had no independent brand identity to fall back on. Now, before we go further, I need to clarify something crucial. Executive personal branding is fundamentally different from pure personal branding. The distinction is essential to understand. When you're a CEO or executive, your personal expression is inextricably linked to your company's brand. It's linked to your stakeholder value and employee livelihoods. Your words move markets. Your opinions affect share prices. Your positions impact corporate partnerships. Now, contrast this with pure personal brands like thought leaders or entrepreneurs who operate independently. They have significantly more freedom to be provocative, polarizing, or experimental because the stakes are primarily personal. But here's what executive branding is not. It's not about watering yourself down or creating some sanitized corporate alter ego. It's not about hiding your personality or dumbing down your intelligence. And it's absolutely not about becoming some generic, forgettable executive clone. The goal is finding the strategic sweet spot, expressing your authentic self in ways that create maximum value with minimum risk. And I promise you, the sweet spot is likely far more expansive than you currently believe. The best part, once you've built your legacy and you are ready to transform beyond your corporate role, you gain significantly more freedom to fully express your revolutionary ideas without corporate constraints. So, how do you harness the immense power of executive branding without falling into the Musk trap? At Iconic Empire, we've developed a proprietary framework called the 3 pillars of iconic executive branding. The first pillar is iconic mastery. Now, this isn't just about being competent, it's about establishing unquestionable authority in your domain through a distinctive methodology and perspective. Early in his career, Musk exemplified this perfectly. I used him as a case study in so many instances. His deep technical knowledge and clear vision for sustainable transport and space exploration positioned him as a genuine pioneer. But as he diverted his attention and public persona away from his core expertise, his mastery position eroded. He became known for provocation rather than innovation. Now contrast this with Sarah Blakely, another amazing billionaire who maintains unwavering focus on her core mastery narrative, entrepreneurial, problem-solving, and women's empowerment. Even as she shares personal content, it consistently reinforces rather than dilutes this positioning. Now, the second pillar is iconic connections. Your executive brand is defined by who you're connected to and how those connections perceive you. These strategic relationships become the foundation for both current influence and future legacy opportunities. Musk initially built connections across incredibly diverse groups: environmentalists, tech innovators, investors, mainstream consumers. This broad coalition was a really powerful asset. But as his personal brand became increasingly divisive, he's alienated a significant portion of these networks. And the result is that Tesla went from uniting different stakeholders around innovation to actively dividing them along ideological lines. Compare this to another amazing billionaire, Richard Branson, who has masterfully cultivated connections across industries, causes, and demographics for decades. He's authentic, yes, but strategic about how his authenticity affects his relationships. Now, that third pillar is iconic presence. This is about creating a distinctive and consistent presence across platforms that serves both your current business objectives and your long-term legacy. Musk's presence has always been distinctive, but there's a crucial difference between a presence that's memorable and one that's divisive. When your presence generates more controversy than contribution, you've crossed a pretty significant line. Let's contrast that with the amazing Sarah Blakely, who maintains a presence that's both authentic and strategic. She shares behind-the-scenes glimpses into her life, yes, but it's always with intention. She understands which aspects of her personality to amplify and which to moderate, creating consistent value for all of her stakeholders. When these 3 pillars are properly balanced, they create an executive brand that becomes your most valuable asset, one that enhances your company's performance today while building your personal legacy for decades to come. Now, this brings us to the most challenging aspect of executive branding, what I call strategic authenticity. In 2025 and beyond, consumers are going to demand authentic leadership. That doesn't mean unfiltered expression of every thought and reaction. Think of executive branding as a spectrum. On one end, we have the corporate robot, scripted, sanitized, and forgettable. On the other, we have unfiltered liability, sharing every thought without consideration for consequences. The sweet spot where iconic executive brands thrive is really in that middle section. This is where you're genuinely yourself, but intentional about which aspects of yourself to amplify and how you express them. Here's a practical framework for navigating this balance. Before sharing content or taking public positions, successful executives ask themselves these 3 questions. Number 1, does this align with both my personal values and my company's mission? Number 2, does it serve my strategic objectives as a leader? And number 3, does this create value for my stakeholders rather than just expressing my personal views? When Richard Branson speaks on social issues, he carefully selects causes that align with both his personal values and Virgin's mission. When Sarah Blakely shares family content, it reinforces her brand narrative rather than distracting from it. Meanwhile, Musk increasingly bypassed all of these filters, leading to statements that may have felt authentic in the moment, but created lasting damage to his company and his legacy. The paradox of executive branding is that true authenticity requires strategy. The most authentic seeming CEOs are often the most intentional about their personal brand expression. Now, this is not about being fake. It's about recognizing that as an executive, your words carry tremendous weight. There's a crucial difference between revolutionary leadership and reckless provocation. Revolutionary leaders like Steve Jobs changed paradigms, challenged conventions, but they also did it in service of a clear vision, not merely for shock value or personal expression. And here's the exciting part. As you build your legacy architecture, you progressively gain more freedom for authentic expression. The most successful executives use their corporate roles to build platforms that eventually allow them complete freedom to express their most revolutionary ideas. Now let's get practical. How do you build an iconic executive brand that leverages the 3 pillars while maintaining strategic authenticity? Here's my premium framework that works across industries and company sizes. Step number 1, we're going to define your iconic positioning. So you're going to document your unique methodology, perspective, and values that differentiate you from other leaders in your space. This becomes the foundation for everything else. The key is identifying where your personal brilliance intersects with market needs and stakeholder expectations. What revolutionary perspective do you bring that creates real value? This is where you should be your boldest, not in reactive commentary. Then step 2 is to map your relationship ecosystem. We're identifying the strategic connections that will amplify your impact and create opportunities both now and in the future. This includes media relationships, industry, influencers, potential partners, community leaders. Remember, you're known by the company you keep, making these connections intentional. And then step 3 is to create your content ecosystem, developing a sustainable rhythm of content that demonstrates your iconic mastery, nurtures your iconic connections, and establishes your iconic presence. This might include thought leadership that showcases your full intellectual capability, behind-the-scene glimpses of your leadership approach, or strategic storytelling about your impact. Quality matters far more than quantity. And then step 4, we're going to implement guardrails for risk management, establishing clear boundaries around topics and context, creating personal approval processes for sensitive content, and identifying trusted advisors like me who can provide those different perspectives. And you want to watch for these warning signs that your executive brand might be veering into liability territory. When your comments consistently generate division rather than connection, when team members, they're expressing concern about your statements, or when your personal views begin overshadowing your company's mission. Step 5, we want to build your legacy architecture. Your executive brand should open doors for opportunities that extend beyond your current role, paid speaking engagements, book deals, board positions, and venture opportunities. We want to document specifically how your current brand building creates assets for your long-term legacy. This ensures you're not just creating momentary visibility, but enduring value and increasing freedom for fuller expression of your revolutionary ideas. The key difference between Musk's approach and our iconic framework is intentionality. It's the difference between letting your executive brand evolve randomly and strategically crafting it into something that creates outcomes for both now and your future legacy. So let's talk about what's really at stake here, both immediately and in the long term. The business impact of executive branding is measurable. Companies with trusted, strategically visible CEOs report 40% higher customer retention, 38% more employee engagement, and 23% greater investment interest. But the consequences extend far beyond the quarterly results. Executives who master these strategic authenticity rules create extraordinary legacy opportunities for the long term. Paid speaking engagements, book deals with major publishers, board positions, and the ability to launch new ventures with instant credibility. Meanwhile, those who follow the Musk trajectory, allowing unfiltered expression to drive their executive brand, face increasing volatility, stakeholder alienation, and systematically destroy their long-term legacy opportunities. Consider this. Once considered a lock for being remembered as the Thomas Edison of our era, Musk has now potentially compromised his historical legacy. The same controversy that's damaging Tesla today is likely to color how history views his contributions decades from now. Contrast this with Sarah Blakely and Richard Branson, who've built executive brands that will continue generating opportunities and positive impact long after they've stepped away from operational roles. The most successful executives understand that personal brand evolution happens in phases. During your corporate leadership, strategic authenticity creates immediate business value while building your platform. Then you transition to legacy building, where you gain the ability to fully express your revolutionary ideas. The choice is yours. But right now, having no executive brand strategy is in itself a strategy, catastrophically bad one. The question isn't whether you have an executive brand, you already do. The question is whether you're managing it with intention and the sophistication that your legacy deserves. If you found this analysis valuable and you want to ensure your executive brand becomes an asset rather than a liability, you need our free Iconic Executive Guide. This comprehensive resource details the 3 pillars of executive branding, specifically for leaders who understand that having a personal brand isn't optional, but having an extraordinary one is your choice. It includes our proprietary Iconic Mastery Matrix, our Connection Ecosystem Framework, and the Presence Amplification System. Tools that have helped executives secure multi-million-dollar opportunities while simultaneously driving their company's growth. This isn't about becoming some watered-down version of yourself, I promise, or creating some corporate alter ego. It's about strategically positioning your authentic brilliance as the iconic leader in your space while avoiding the pitfalls that we've discussed today. So click the link in the description to access the Iconic Executive Guide and transform your executive brand from potential liability into your most valuable strategic asset, one that will continue creating opportunities long after your current role exists. Look, I would love to hear from you. What's been the biggest challenge in balancing authentic expression with strategic positioning as a leader? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this analysis valuable, you'll definitely want to subscribe to our channel, because we are loading up this type of content every week about how to build that iconic personal brand, whether you're in an existing executive position or whether you're on the other end of your retirement or exit and ready to really go into creating your legacy architecture framework. I can't wait to see you on the inside. So subscribe for more premium insights on building your iconic executive brand. I'm Kathryn Porritt, and I'll see you in the next video.